Good morning, Sprocket.
Hey Chubbs, how are you?
I am bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
That might be a little more than I could say. It has been a stressful week for me, Al. I have some transitions going on in life. Being retired from the military, I went into a contract job with the government. I've never been a contractor before. And regardless of how hard you work or what type of a performer you are, if they lose funding, they have to cut positions. And being one of the new guys on the contract, I was cut for funding and not performance. So I am now on the hunt for a new contract and or a new job. So that's added a stressor to my world that I'm not used to. And the weather's been terrible. I'm not sleeping good for some reason. I have lost 8 pounds. And then I've been tuning this new bow that I have, and I shot my refrigerator yesterday because I blind bag and paper tune inside my house, and I had my target and paper tune system set up against the wall in the living room, and I wasn't focused on the shot out, and I have my let off set pretty hot right now. A lot more. I went from 87% to I reversed, did a 180. I'm at 78%, and I'm still getting used to those holding mechanics of that really, really good solid form. And I relaxed my bow arm a little bit, and she buckled in on me, and I punched the trigger, and I sent a 433 grain arrow traveling 293 feet per second with 18% FOC through my wall, all the way through the backside of my fridge. Like maybe 3 inches of my arrow was sticking out of the backside of my refrigerator.
You do realize there is an easier way to take down snacks.
No, man. Al, we had a quart jar of some pickling liquid of my father-in-law's that my wife was saving. I double lunged that thing, and it detonated glass. I had pickling liquid all over inside the refrigerator. I had to clean the entire thing out. I got to pass through, man. I tell you what, though, right now, Samsung in the appliance industry does not have the best reputation. But man, granted, this Samsung refrigerator, it was purchased in 2009 or 2010. She's still running. I did not hit any vitals, apparently. So I'm just going to put some silicone on the backside of my fridge. It's still over here running like a champ, man.
That's awesome.
There's a lot of people, even you, when I text you and told you about it, you're like, ooh, mum's the word. We won't tell anybody. It's like, hey, I already came clean. I told my wife. I've added it to the description of our episode 7. I'm telling everybody, you know what? If you can't laugh at your own mistakes, you need to do some self-reflecting. So yeah, I did. I arrowed my refrigerator.
And I'll say that you're not I won't say you're not a true bow hunter, but if you haven't shot an appliance or something in your house accidentally, give it time. I've had I put 2 holes in a freezer that I had in the garage before. I haven't put any holes in anything in the house yet, but I've already given fair warning to my wife, and she just shook her head and she's like, yeah, please don't.
So Al, I'm shooting the Victory VAP SS, and I think the only damage done to that shaft, the zinger came off at the wall on entry as designed, and it screwed up my 1-stringer arrow wrap pretty good. That's easy to strip off and put a new one on. It looks like it bent the outsert, the Victory outsert. So I'm going to attempt to heat the super glue up a little bit and pull that outsert out. And if that works and she spins true, I'm going to glue in a new insert and keep shooting that arrow.
There you go.
I'll share the photo. I took a photo of my arrow inside the refrigerator. Is great. So anyhow, enough of that, Al. What are we doing here today? What do you want to talk about today?
So I know we talked last time. You and East Coast Nick are planning your backcountry turkey hunt, and this coming weekend, you guys are doing some scouting.
We are. I've actually pulled Friday off. I'm not working Friday, so we're leaving Thursday afternoon now. We're going to sleep at the trailhead. That way we can get up in the morning and be packing in under first light and increase our time on target. It's going to be great.
Now, this is a public land. You're scouting on public land. Are you and Nick planning on just putting boots to the ground and getting their binos out and just recording everything, mentally? Or what's the game plan going in, so that, are you going to spend 2 or 3 weekends going in scouting, or is this you're going in with one shot and this is our game plan?
No, so we're targeting this area, Chubbs, for turkey and deer. So we plan on hitting this area hopefully once a month, if not every month, about every 45 days, we're going in and scouting, and we're going to carpet bomb this place with cameras. Now, when I say carpet bomb, right now I have 6 cameras to take in this weekend and put in place. And I'm not targeting turkeys on the cameras right now. I'm putting the cameras where I think we might want to deer hunt in the fall, because I know there's deer in there. It's stellar country. For me, for turkeys, they're already gobbling. They're already henned up out here in Virginia. I know we're going to find turkey sign. I know we're going to hear birds. I know we'll probably see birds, because we're going to get up on the side hills and finger ridges and points and benches and glass opposing faces and whatnot. I'm pretty sure we'll encounter birds. There's no doubt in my mind. I'm going to drop cameras where I think that we might have high deer activity. And then we're shed hunting as well.
Nice. So are these cell cameras, or just your ordinary run-of-the-mill trail cameras, and you guys are just going to go back in and swap cards?
No, these are not cell cameras. Even if I had a cell camera that I would want to leave in there, there's no cell service back in there. So it would be pointless. I would just be leaving a high-end camera on public property. Granted, I do not think that we'll see a lot of human activity back in there. Just where you have to go to get in there, what the terrain is like, I do not think there's going to be a lot of other hunters or other pressure in there. So somebody wandering around and finding my cameras, I think, is a very low percentage. However, I wasn't about to purchase 6 or 8 $80 to $120 cameras either. So I was turned on to a camera that's on sale on Midway right now. It's made by I think it's Wild View. It's a 14 megapixel camera. They were $24.99 a piece. They only hold up to a 32 gigabyte SD card, which is, that's almost industry standard, at 8 AA's. And I'm trying a new battery this time. I am a staunch Energizer lithium battery guy. Huge believer in them. And I do believe they're the best battery on the market. However, I found a brand on Amazon. These batteries are called Bevigor, Bevigor. They're lithium. Jacob Emery, who is a turkey hunting nut, loves hunting whitetail, hunts out of a kayak a lot. I really love what he does, and he's very talented. I believe he posted a picture of using Bevigors in his cameras, because he carpet bombs cameras all over public land as well. So I'm giving them a try. Worst case scenario is we go back up in May, or, well, actually, that's not true. We're going in this weekend, and then in less than 3 weeks' time, we're going back in for turkey hunting. So I'll get a really good idea of how well these batteries last over that 3 weekish period running out there in the wild, especially this time of year when the temps are still cold. It will be really hard on those batteries. So it's going to be a good test for them. And if they fail, if we go in the middle of April and all those cameras are dead, well, then I know that Bevigors, even though you're going to save maybe $30 on 48 batteries, it's not worth it in the long run, because you'll buy more over several months' time versus just spending the money for the Energizers, because I know that Energizers will last for a long time.
You'll have to do maybe in the description of this, do a kind of a cost comparison of the two. I'll give everybody a quick tip. if you stick with energizers like I do, go to Bed Bath & Beyond online, and you can find them for about 50 to 60% off where you'll find them anywhere else.
And you're right, Al. Unfortunately, I procrastinated on purchasing batteries for all 6 cameras, and I did not have enough time because if I remember correctly, you have to order those from Bed Bath & Beyond. You cannot go into the store and purchase them in person for that discounted price. And you're not going to receive those in a 2-day or 3-day time period. It takes a little bit more time. So yes. Now, and here's the other cool thing. I do have a full load of fresh Energizer lithiums in one of the 6 cameras. So I will have a good comparison out there in the environments the cameras are in, and I can compare the two. And after this trip, or maybe during our trip, I'll provide some information in April on, hey, this is how these batteries are performing. And it's going to be a gamble because when I go in April, I'm taking a fresh load of batteries for those cameras just in case. So again, in April, am I ordering these Bevagors off of Amazon, or am I going to spend the money on the energizers? And if I can get them at a discount someplace, then that's probably what I'm going to do. I have to remember to do it in time.
Sounds good. Well, before we get into our hot topic of trail cameras on public land, let's hear from our title sponsors.
Oh, that sounds good, man. Let it rip.
Who do Sprocket and Chubbs rely on for our optics needs? Vortex Optics. Binoculars, rifle scopes, rangefinders, and more, Vortex offers premium products that are an investment in your hunting future. Their customers are at the center of everything they do. Their VIP warranty, where the VIP stands for Very Important Promise, means if your Vortex product becomes damaged or defective, they will repair or replace it at no charge to you. For all your optics needs, visit vortexoptics.com. The king of adjustable pin archery sights, HHA Sports is home of the Tetra Rise 2-pin slider. Featuring a fixed secondary pin and secondary yardage marker, the Tetra Rise allows you to adjust your aiming point at full draw. With a silky 2.1 inches of travel, the Tetra Rise features the longest sight tapes they have ever built for unmatched long-range accuracy. HHA sights are proudly made in the USA and carry a 100% lifetime warranty. Find out more at hhasports.com or visit your local archery dealer today. Are you looking for the best camouflage apparel and hunting packs on the planet? Badlands lives and breathes technology, performance, and quality. Sprocket and Chubbs love the innovative hunting apparel in the Approach and Approach FX camouflage patterns. There is apparel and a Badlands backpack for every hunting style. Badlands also offers their legendary unconditional lifetime warranty. To find out more, visit badlandsgear.com. When you think Latitude Outdoors, you think saddle hunting. Latitude Outdoors is fueled by creativity and obsessed with the details. And their saddles are made right here in the USA. As far as we're concerned, Latitude Outdoors makes the very best hunting saddles on the market. High quality gear that is safe, comfortable, and simply fun to hunt from. There's a Latitude Outdoors saddle for every size and shape hunter out there. Want to learn more about saddle hunting? Go to latitudeoutdoors.com and have fun. All right, so you and I have been talking about this turkey trip. We've hunted together in Nebraska. We hunt in different areas. Sprocket and I have been talking for the past week about this trail camera ban that's come up in Kansas. And it's interesting because I love a good trail camera. I love putting it out there, but I didn't start using trail cameras until later in my hunting career. And I want to kind of pick Sprocket's brain and kind of go back and forth and just kind of figure out how each of us feels about this ban and if there's any legitimate reason for it, and go from there. I mean, have you had a chance to watch any of that commission meeting in Kansas?
I have not watched the meeting itself. I've only seen the news updates, advertisements, and then, of course, all the chatter on social media about them banning the cameras.
I think it was bowhunting.com posted an article. There were multiple articles, and they all basically said the exact same thing. I think the benefit, if anybody is really interested, is watch the first, go to, I think it's 25 minutes of the commission meeting when the commissioner starts speaking. I tell you what, I wish that other states had a commission like they have in Kansas. They're very articulate, they let you speak, and they have facts to back up everything that they're talking about. But they also open the floor up to the public that wants to speak, and they're not harping on them after 1 minute saying, oh, your time's up. They want to hear from everybody. And so I watched about 40 minutes of this after the commissioner opened it up to the public. There were a couple of hunters that came up and gave their take on it and gave some facts. So I don't know if 100% of these facts that I wrote down are true. I'll be honest, I did not investigate them, but I think we can kind of pick it apart and get a good understanding, knowing that we've hunted Nebraska, we hunt the East Coast. Gentleman that first came up was saying that Kansas is 97% private, 3% public. Now that sounds pretty intimidating when you think about it, but there's still a lot of public land in Kansas. Same thing for Nebraska, same thing for Oklahoma. Texas would be the exception, I think, but Texas doesn't really come into play in this discussion. They are banning trail cameras on public land in Kansas. How do you feel about that?
Chubbs, I honestly don't have a dog in the fight on cameras for hunting, regardless of the state, whether it's the state that I'm a resident in or non-resident states that I hunt in. Most of us, anybody that's 30 years old or older, grew up hunting without cameras, and you got the job done. In today's world and technology, and with some of our younger hunters, there's hunters out there that all they know is running trail cams and hunting off of their trail cam images and information. Does it make you a bad hunter? No, I don't think so. There's some incredible hunters out there that use cameras. It's a very valuable tool. Will they be just as successful? Some of them will be. There are some absolute killers out there. Jake Bush, that man is a talented whitetail hunter. And there is no doubt in my mind that if his state of residence took away his ability to use trail cams on public property, just because of his mindset and his knowledge and the amount of time and effort that he puts into pursuing whitetail, and not just any whitetail out. He is a trophy hunter. Jake Bush will still be effective. Would it be taking a tool out of his toolbox? It absolutely would. Would he be happy about it? It would be a fun conversation to have with him. He is actually one of the guys that turned me on to the wild game 14s that I'm taking out on this piece of public. What would it mean for me if Thursday, when we drive out to the trailhead, we did not have the 6 cameras in our backpacks? You and I went out to Nebraska 2 years in a row. I never put up a trail cam. When you arrived on site this last season, you went out that first day and put a trail cam up just to see what was going on and moving through that area. Did that camera drive you and where you were going to hunt or how you were going to hunt? In my opinion, no, it did not. And it had zero impact the year before because we did not use any cameras. So for me, I really want to say that no, I could really care less whether we are able to use cameras in our hunting endeavors. There's a lot of people out there that believe it's infringing on their personal rights, whether or not they get to use game cameras or not. And there's other people out there that think that it is not ethical hunting to use cameras and hunt over cameras. So what about you? What's your thoughts on it?
I'm not solid on any point except for I follow along the same line, the same route that you do. I could care less. I grew up, I remember when my family and I first decided, I forget who it was, if it was my dad or my brother that got our first trail camera to put up. And again, it was a $25 camera. I mean, here's the thing. There's so many little pits and crevices with with this. Most people aren't spending $100 on a camera, on a dozen cameras. You know, they're spending $1,000 to put trail cameras up. When I first started, I was spending as little as possible on trail cameras to put them up. And a lot of the time we started on private land, which this doesn't affect private land at all. It's only public land. But in California, I use trail cameras due to the fact that my hunting area is an hour and a half away from my house. I don't have the time sometimes to go scout certain areas for long periods of time, and just the travel alone, the personal time, the gas money to get there, it can be exhausting. On the same token, does that stop me from putting optics up to my eyes or trying to hunt an area? Not at all. I mean, when we went to Nebraska, we were dropped on that chunk of property. Now, granted, it was private property, but nobody hunted it. Let's say it was public land. We just said, you know what? We're going to scout this as if we were going to scout for whitetail, and we're going to post up where we want to post up, following the sign and everything. And we had success. We found deer all over the place, and it was just keeping our eyes open and looking for things. This last year, yeah, I put up a cell cam. I put up two. One of the areas, it did not work very well. The other area, it just showed me where the deer were not. And it was just, I put it up almost for fun, because we knew based on our previous experience where we were going to go. Now, as far as public land for everybody else, I get a little bit on a soapbox, and I'll try to not be too high on that, but living here in California and hunting in California, there are a lot of people that use trail cameras on public land. Do I have a problem with that? No. Do I have a problem with somebody dumping a corn pile in front of it? You're damn right I do. Because that, not only does that change the way the deer behavior is, it's also having them focus on, a new area, a new food source. Now, I say that a lot of people don't really understand hunting in Southern California. It's very hard hunting. It's desert. It's, there are a lot of forested areas, but putting up trail cameras, just put up trail cameras and see what the deer movement is. Now, have I had good luck with putting them up? I've had my fair share of deer, I've had my fair share of bear, and I've had my fair share of mountain lions. But it's good to know. For me, it's almost fun versus a hunting tool out here. On the East Coast, I use it more of a hunting tool. But if I was told you can't use trail cameras on public land anymore, would I cry about it? No, I really wouldn't. I really could care less. I'm still going to hunt the way I hunt.
It's an interesting concept, Arizona banned cameras. Was it 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
Something
Arizona,
like that.
They came out with their camera camera ban. I believe it's in the entire state. I don't think Arizona banned cameras merely on public. I want to think that Arizona is, if they're able to tie your game camera use to harvesting an animal, it's a violation of the law on public or private. Now, I could be wrong. Probably should do a little more research on that, although I do not have any plans in the future to be out hunting in Arizona. Let me rephrase that. I do intend to hunt Arizona in the future, but it might be a couple of years. And when I do go, I won't be toting, even if the ban wasn't there, I would not be toting cameras to Arizona. It's just not something that I take when I go out of state to hunt. Do I think they should dictate whether an individual is allowed to use cameras on private property? When I say I don't care, I really mean I don't care. Now, should it be your lawful right to do what you want on your private property? In some senses, absolutely. Can you hunt deer year-round legally on your private property? No, you can't. You have to hunt within the laws and standards and regulations of your game department within your state. And if that includes damage tags for you, and you can obtain damage tags, then fill your tags year-round. Whatever's legal for you. Can you bait on private land in every state? No, you can't. It's illegal. In a lot of states where it's illegal, or regions where it's illegal to bait for hunting, it doesn't matter where it's public or private. Now, do people still do it? Yeah, I'm sure they do. Does that make it right? No, it doesn't. Do I care? It's your land. You do what you want on your land. If you get caught, own up to it and pay the price. The whole camera deal, man, it's, you start talking about people worrying more about how large the antler growth on the animal is. You want to talk about bashing harvests, especially for new novice hunters, people that just want to fill a tag, people that maybe have 1, 2, or 3 day weekends out of the hunting season to fill a tag. So they take the first legal animal that they can get and they're super happy about it. And then everybody bashes them for it. Why? Well, because so many people are tied to their game cameras and what animals they're seeing and or watching and which animals they think is theirs. And then they name them and they track them. And Al, I will say that on a piece of private that I leased up in Southern Maryland, I call him the Big Six. He's a great big 6-point. I had him on camera for 2 years leading up to my harvest. It was really cool. Is that the basis of my whitetail hunting? Absolutely not. And did it impact whether or not I was going to pull the trigger on that animal? I took him on the evening of Christmas in 2018. No, it was 2019. I had him on camera in 17 and 18 and took him in just on Christmas Day of 2019. It was really cool. If Maryland had a camera ban on public and private, I would never have had the pictures of that deer leading up to my harvest. Do I still have those photos? No, I've deleted them already. They're gone. So for me, I don't care. I really, really don't care. My interest is the opinions of other people. How does it impact you? There's going to be some companies out there that will be greatly impacted. The more states that, not that I should say fall, but more states that ban camera use on public land, that's going to drop their camera sales. And that's going to have a big impact on some of these companies that really focus on cameras. Look at Cuddyback. We have a mutual friend that has a lot of money invested into Cuddyback system.
But that's all on public or on private land too.
It is, but what happens if states start banning cameras on private land?
See, that's the fine line, the gray area. See, I disagree that they should ban it on private land. I do think that with the rise of television shows and YouTube shows, that more people are exploiting the use of hunting to get a like, to be an quote unquote influencer, which I think is BS in my opinion. You know what, if that's what it takes for you to have to, give yourself a pat on the back, I don't need to be hunting with you. But is it a tool that I think that they can use? Yeah. And do I think that they should be able to use it? Absolutely. Do I have to hunt the biggest deer? No. It's funny, the hunter that first spoke at the Kansas Game Commission, very articulate, well-spoken, and he had his thoughts and everything written down, but he was I followed along and it was great. But he mentioned, if you want to get that big deer, you're looking for that big antler deer. No, that's not how I hunt. Now, I guess you have to look at it in a couple of different ways. First thing is, when I grew up hunting, I don't know about you, me, it was, we need to fill the freezer. If we want to have some meat for the winter, we need to go out and we need to hunt. And we did that. Do I have to do that now? No, but I sure as hell love it. I love to get out there and put my skills to the test. And I love to eat wild game. There are some people that still have to do that. But if they're hunting on, again, it's that public versus private. The public land, they mentioned that, that people don't want to have their picture taken on public land and have it posted all over Facebook. You know what? Anywhere you go these days, people are posting your picture on Facebook. Mm-hmm. Here's my issue with it on public land, is if you're hunting a concentrated area. Now, have I hunted areas where there have been a couple of cameras? Hey, they talk about water holes in Arizona or one of these desolate areas. There's 30 cameras around one water hole. Correct. You know what? Give me a break. It's like, then that becomes excessive, in my opinion. But where do you control it? And that's where there are so many little things. Do you ban it all together? Do you issue permits that you can have one camera per 1 acre, whatever? How are you going to police that? You can't. The logistics of it is a nightmare.
So Chubbs, let me ask you this. You said that you believe a private landowner should be able to run cameras on his property. Just to play devil's advocate, I'm not saying that Sprocket thinks they should or should not be able to. That's don't take that when I dive into this. But what is the basis of the ban? So I'm going to use baiting and attractants to lead into this. There's a lot of states out there that ban baiting because either one, they don't believe it's ethical, or two, they believe it contributes to disease spread. When you have a lot, and also we know for a fact that corn piles are not a healthy alternative for deer, especially when you're buying low-end corn. It's really unhealthy for the deer. And if you listen to podcasts like Fueled by the Outdoors, those guys are talking a lot about, the super coons. You're dumping all those corn piles around. What's the number one critter that's hitting those corn piles 24/7 as long as they're there? Raccoons. Yeah. And there's guys that are posting pictures. It's almost like a competition. Who has the most raccoons on their corn piles? And somebody had 16 or 17 raccoons at one time on a corn pile. Well, now we're talking about, we're feeding our nest robbers that are impacting turkey hunting and other bird populations, right?
Yeah, why feed the predators?
So when we talk about baiting, there's the deer health or animal health. There's also the ethics behind it. Let's talk about attractants or scents. There's a lot of states out there that have banned natural scents because of CWD. They believe that we're spreading CWD by using natural animal lures. So you can either use only synthetics, or are there states out there where you're not able to use attractants at all? I haven't really researched that, but I know there's plenty of states out there that you're not able to use natural scents. Virginia is one of them. I have to use a synthetic scent in Virginia. So if a state is able to dictate whether you can bait on your property or not legally, I will back it up with that, legally, or if you're not able to use a natural attractant or natural lure on your private property, if the basis of using cameras on public land is banned because it's an unethical method of hunting, then why would it still be allowed on private? If it's unethical for a public land hunter to use a camera, then why wouldn't it be unethical for a private land hunter to use a camera? That's my argument. Again, do I care or do I agree with it? I'm not saying that I do. I'm just throwing that out there. What makes the private land person able to use a camera and a public land guy not able to? To me, that's a big question.
It's a big question, and it's a very open question. There were letters written into Kansas. There were letters written into Utah in the past where people believe it's unethical. Do I know how many of them are hunters or they are members of the anti-hunting community? Don't know. I just know that the letters were written. Do I think it's unethical? I don't think it's unethical. I think that there is a point where you have to consider, how much is this for my ego and how much is this for actually harvesting an animal? Mm-hmm. And when does this cross the line? Some people don't have that filter. They really don't. You and I going out there, we would be like, you know what? This is not good. We're going to leave this area alone. But we were raised in a different era. And I think that we live in the technology era now. Everybody's got something digital. And yeah, there isn't, the line is a very crooked up and down around mountains, kind of line. There is no definitive answer. Everybody's going to have their own opinion on it.
Oh, Alex, we're talking mechanicals versus fixed blade, heavy arrows versus fast arrows, cameras on public, cameras not on public, cameras on private only, or cameras not at all. It is a controversial topic, and we're never going to make everybody happy, ever.
No, and you asked about attractants here. Coming from California, I think you've got probably the most restrictive state in the union. You know what I mean? So here's what you can and can't do in California. Can you put up a trail camera? Yes. Can you put anything in front of it that's not natural to bring in animals? No, not even for photography purposes. Can't put corn. You can't put a mineral attractant. Do I think mineral attractants are a benefit? 100%. I know that some areas, public or private, if deer need minerals for antler growth, for good health. I think minerals are a much better way to help, quote unquote, feed the deer or feed animals. I mean, you put mineral sites out. I haven't seen a whole lot of raccoons come into a mineral site. Does that mean it doesn't happen? No, but you know what? You're not going to get 16 raccoons on a come here deer pile. But that being said, here's an interesting topic to go along with that. Off the top of my head, I know that you can use like natural scents for deer in California. But a lot of people have told me, you know what, sure, go ahead and use a natural scent. And then you're basically baiting mountain lions to your spot. You smell like a deer, you know, that's the way it's going to be. And I kind of laugh at that, but I'm like, you know, most of my hunting is a lot of hiking. I'm hiking 6 miles, whatever. Here's an interesting topic. One of the chain stores out here, Bass Pro, sells attractants like the scent bombs and stuff that you can, you know, doe pea, boron heat, bacon, corn pile, maple brown sugar, whatever it is. I'm throwing some fake ones out there. You can't use them in the state of California because it's promising a reward of food. Now, you can't spray it like normal. But talking to a game warden out here, if you want to spray it on your clothing as a cover scent, that's up to you.
That's
so
great.
And I'm like, you see the issue here is, yes, you can't shake it up, throw it out there like a scent bomb normally would. I mean, 25, 30 years ago, when those things first came out, it was a big deal. It was really cool. And on TV shows and everything, hey, they were working. Yeah, that's great. Have I tried them out here? Talked to a game warden, and he basically said, you can't do that. And I asked him first, and he said, yeah, you can spray yourself. And I'm like, boy, I really don't want to spray myself with bacon, go out bear hunting and be the bait, you know, but that's the way around it out here. And then I'm sure that this is with a lot of Western states, at least Southwestern states. I don't want to include Oregon or Washington in this because it's a different terrain up there. Even Northern California, but putting up trail cameras, there's a certain amount of ethos, you know, that where do you stop? Where do you just keep hounding an area? I mean, you got to think too, if it's a small chunk of management property that's public and 100 hunters are all going in there putting up cameras, you're going to disrupt the game. You open up a whole new can of worms with that.
You know, I spoke earlier about my idea that game cameras will not impact my hunt that much. Al, I've been through a period of time where I owned probably 12 to 14 different game cameras, and I had them everywhere. And I checked them religiously. Then I purchased a cell camera, and I became addicted to that cell camera. I loved watching those pictures roll in. When you take the time to learn topography and animal movement and what their habits are, your game camera is no longer that important of a tool. I'm going to reference this scouting trip. What's one of the reasons that we're going scouting? It's an educational tool at this point. I've already crushed the maps. I have so many waypoints dropped in a particular area that I plan to go scout and hunt in. I know from what I've learned and becoming a better woodsman over time, I know what areas on that map based on topography features, where I think I'm going to find the concentration areas of deer movement. And I'm going in to validate that knowledge. And part of that validation is not only seeing the sign, but hanging a camera there. But I challenge myself with this, Al. If I'm learning those valuable pieces of being a woodsman, because that, again, that's the big term these days right now. That's our buzzword, being a woodsman. If I'm increasing my abilities as a woodsman and I'm going into an area after crushing it and populating all these data points that I want to see, then I hike to those and I see actual sign, and I might see several years of sign in those locations. What does the camera do for me at that point in time? Is it really adding anything more critical to that spot? The only thing critical in my opinion that it's adding at that point is come September, I'm going to see if there is a trophy buck moving through there. And if he's moving through there frequently. And if he's there in September, is he there a month later in October, or has he moved? Has he moved from one food source to another? Was he with the bachelor's group and now he's gone, but two of the younger bucks are still frequenting that area? Will I lose that knowledge of that location from that camera? Sure. If I sneak in there in September and move around and I'm finding a lot of deer sign and activity, will I still gain the information that I want or need to go in and have a successful hunt? Absolutely. That camera, it is a positive tool, but not a required tool. That's my opinion.
And I think, I mean, you brought up two good points there. I'm going to start with the second one. Having the cameras out there, is it a good tool, and is it something that will benefit, you in that area? 100%. I like having a camera up because it's fun. I'm the same way. I'm more addicted to probably cell cameras than I am to coffee. It's just maybe, but I love getting those pictures on there. I mean, I've got my dad's got a few cameras up in New York, and we're getting pictures of turkeys and deer and everything because, hey, it's awesome to see what's there. Is it really going to benefit us for the fall? Absolutely not. Does it still show that there's deer movement? Sure. But it's more of an entertainment value than anything else.
When your Tacticam subscription and the photos coming into that big buck is your OnlyFans account, you might be a redneck.
Yeah. Now let's go back to you talked about learning topography and knowing the area. Now I'm going to play devil's advocate to a degree here, because I hunt a little bit differently than you. I will study the topography and I will make waypoints. And that's as far as I go. I do not sit there and study the maps, because you can go down a rabbit hole and look at them. Oh, you know what? I'm going to hit this drainage and that. I don't hunt that way. I put boots to the ground and I go. Now, here's what I want to ask you. Do you think it's a detriment? And again, this is devil's advocate talking here. A detriment to people like, say, East Coast Nick, where you've done a lot of the study. And yes, I know you've gone over a lot of this with him, but let's say you're taking him in green to this area. You've done all the studying. You're bringing him into this area. You've done the work, you know what to look for. He's coming in and he's like, wow, this is a great spot. Yeah, there's deer here, but he's not going to put in any work beyond that. Do you think that's a challenge for the hunting community these days?
So first, I'm going to say East Coast Nick has not done that. He's not in for the free ride. So we have spent a year now talking about e-scouting and maps. We've spent time on a piece of private property that he has access to, and we broke that down according to the world of how Aaron would hunt it and scout it and hunt it. For this trip that we're going on right now, I had him place waypoints on the map on where he thought there would be deer activity or deer sign that we would find. And then we met and we talked about why he chose those spots. When we go in to those waypoints, we are now going to validate what his thought process was. So if we get to a micro bench or a point or a finger ridge where he said, I think this looks good and these are the reasons why, and we get there and it's barren, well, then we need to dissect that even further. Why is that barren? Again, I'm going to throw out Jake Bush's name. I'm pretty sure it was Jake Bush. I've been crushing a lot of podcasts lately, but I think it was Jake. He talked about finding areas that look really, really good, but the rubs are old. There is not any fresh activity. He brings up this really good outlook on this of that's not a location where maybe a big buck was present and then was harvested or ran over by a car or is no longer there. It could quite easily be a food source change. And when I say a food source change, maybe those soft mass producing trees had a bad year or it's their off cycle. So the food source there is not as high as somewhere else. So you need to find that deer's travel patterns and see where the heavy producing trees are for that season. And that's where you're going to find the concentration of fresh sign. That other area that may not have fresh sign in it, It might be this year that those trees or those food sources are in full production rate, and you're going to have that concentration of deer sign there again. One of his big key points, and I don't want to get off topic, but it's look at the history of the sign that is there. If you see several years of sign in one location, but you don't have anything fresh from this past season, that is a good indication that either this year is going to be another off cycle, or this might be the year where that is the hot spot because those trees produce a large amount of food source for those critters. So you have to go in and do that scouting and see what they're going to do. That's what I think. Do I think that crushing the maps at the level that I do is required? No, probably not. Why do I do it? Well, for me, every time I look at that location, Al, I find something new. I start zooming into areas and I find those micro benches that might be 50, 60, 100 yards off the top of a finger ridge, or maybe it's 40, 50 yards below a saddle. There's a micro bench there that keys off in my mind. That might be a bedding area, or a buck is going to feed there and then hang out on that micro bench, and I'm going to kill him right there. Had I not spent the time really playing around, looking at the topos and really crunching that area, I might completely overlook that little sliver of a micro bench on that contour line that would cause me to walk up there and look. That's why I do what I do. Do I think that your hunting method is effective? It absolutely is. You're a very skilled outdoorsman now. I just like to spend more time looking at the maps as I'm waiting for my time to go in there and get the boots on the ground. Now, are there people out there that would happily hang on the shirt tails of somebody that's willing to put the time and energy in, especially if they're not allowed to go drop cameras in an area? Oh yeah, there's those lazy hunters out there. It's no different than somebody seeing a photo that you've posted on your social platform saying, hey, check out this beautiful rub that I found. I think I'm going to hunt here this fall. Hey, what WMA are you in, bro? Well,
Yeah.
come spend a few miles with me in the woods and I'll show you.
Yeah. And I firmly believe that there are people like that. I think that I like to give the benefit of the doubt that a lot of people like you and Nick have gone over maps for a year. If I'm going to take somebody hunting, I almost require them to take a look at an area, unless it's an area that I've got a couple of spots. I won't call them secret spots, but I know that if word got out, it would just be inundated with hunters before long. And I'm very choosy out here of who I share certain spots with. Mm-hmm. Now, some of the areas are tens or hundreds of square mile areas, but people out here are real picky. You take a picture, hey, I know exactly where you were standing. And I think that that's kind of where the trail camera issue comes into play, is you get a picture of someone, oh, hey, Aaron shot that 170 buck in Nebraska last year. You know what? Here's a trail cam picture of Aaron. I know exactly where Aaron's hunting. To me, it's like, you know what? That rubs me the wrong way. Is there anything wrong with that? No, but hunting ethics wise, dude, put some work into it. Mm-hmm. When I would give seminars at Bass Pro, and this was a few years ago, we would do deer hunting seminars and what to look for, what sign, how to glass. I had two things happen one weekend. I had numerous people say, hey, can you point me in where I should go scout? And I opened up the maps and I said, yep, here you go. And they just looked at me dumbfounded. And I said, put some boots to the ground and look at this. I said, I'll point you. Hey, you see this green area? That's forest. You see this? This is a trailhead. This is what you need to look for. Well, yeah, but can you tell me where I should go? No, I'm not going to tell you where you should go. I'll give you a general area, but if you're not willing to put in the work, why should I give you all the work that I've put in and do that? Now, as I'm talking to these people about it, some jackass stole my map from behind me and walked off with it. Now, fortunately, I only had Post-it notes in there and I didn't have anything marked on it because I anticipated the fact that somebody was going to do that. But at home, I've got things circled. I've got notes on maps and stuff. This was before Onyx and Basecamp. And I'm like, really? But you know what? There are people that do not want to put in the work, that are just, they want the easy way out. Now, I think the way that you are handling it with Nick is great, and more people need to take that to heart. Spend some time with a new hunter, show them the ropes, and say, this is what we're going to go look for. Yeah, go. You make some, put some pins on the map as well. We're going to look at those as well. And what did you learn from it? Either way, it's going to be a great learning experience.
Here's the other thing too, Al, with us being able to go out and put cameras in this spot, we plan to check those cameras every 30 to 45 days, and we're going to log data. If we pack in, or if we even just drive, it's like a 4-hour drive from where we live to the trailhead. It's a haul. Can you go out and do it in one day? You can. That would be a rough day, because you're driving 4 hours out there. Your closest camera is probably 3 miles from the truck. And then the way they're going to be scattered out through these 2 different canyons, the elevation change that you're going to cover to check all of your cameras and all of the mileage that you're going to put in, it would be close to a double-digit day mileage of up and down on very, very steep terrain to get back to your vehicle and drive 4 hours home. If you did not have cameras out there, how compelled are you going to be to go out and check your waypoints every 30 to 45 days if you're not out there swapping batteries, swapping cards, looking at photos, and seeing what's going on around you, right? It would be easy to find reasons not to go. It would be easy not to take a full weekend and say, all right, let's go hike around and check our waypoints and see if we have any fresh scrapes yet, or how much deer sign we're seeing, or let's go see, how our oaks are looking. What are we going to have a big drop this year? What are we finding? You're more compelled to do that if you know you have to go check a camera that's hanging on a tree. Now, again, does that make it right? Does that make it ethical? In some states now, does that make it legal? For the state answer, that's simple. It's either yes or no. For the other ones, well, that's really up to you.
It is up to you, and you can't regulate who has trail cameras out there and who doesn't. Not effectively at all. I mean, out here in California, I don't know how it is in other states, but game wardens have to cover hundreds of square miles. The national forest area where I hunt, there is one warden. I think they added a second warden in the last couple of years. If you've got a major problem, there's a poaching ring up in the northern part of the unit, and you've got somebody shooting at hawks, with bird shot in the southern end, guess what takes priority? It's that poaching thing. It's not the one bird. Is it sad? Yeah, but you know what? You don't have the manpower. Same goes with putting trail cameras up and managing them. Now, I want to go back to it's something. It just hit me right now, because you and I we're opportunistic. We have no problem hunting after that big buck, but we also got our 2 doe tags in Nebraska. When I go to New York, I always get a couple of doe tags. This last year, yeah, did I see a couple of bucks? Sure did. But what did I take? I took 2 doe. I have no problem shooting doe. Do I care if there's doe on trail cameras? No. Do I like seeing big bucks on trail cameras? Absolutely. But there are some people, and there's nothing wrong with this. This is just a mindset that, okay, this giant buck comes out, they name it, and they have to hunt that buck only for the remainder of the season. I'm not that way. Do I want to be able to hunt a specific buck? Sure. If it's I like to look for mature animals to harvest. I am that picky nowadays. Have I passed up bucks? Yeah, in Nebraska, I've passed up a couple of deer, a couple of bucks this year that were younger bucks. You know what? I wanted a mature buck. I screwed that up too, so we won't go into that. But my point being is, I hunt mature animals now versus anything that moves through the forest. There are some people that are so focused on that one animal that they'll put up 10 cameras to see exactly where that animal is going. Is there anything wrong with that? No, there's not. Do I think that more hunters should be open to harvesting some does from time to time? Yes, I do. There's nothing wrong. I mean, keeping that doe population in check. And I tell you what, it tastes delicious. Be able to look at it that way. And you mentioned it earlier with don't shame other hunters. If guys are going to take 10 doe in a season and that you can, kudos to them. They put animals on the ground. They fed people. That's awesome. Do I think that there is a certain level of experience for hunting some of these bigger whitetails and everything? I do. You have to put in the time. Yes, trail cameras come into play with that, or can come into play with that. Is it fair chase? You know what? You're going to get arguments on both sides. Again, if they said, Chubbs, you can no longer use a trail camera for the rest of your life, but you can hunt all you want. Am I going to cry over it? Nope. I'm going to go out and I'm going to hunt. Am I going to spend time arguing with the legislature about getting trail cameras out there? No, I'm not. You know what? If you don't like that attitude, tough. I don't get butthurt about it. You shouldn't either. But if you do, hey, go ahead and bring it up. But it's not going to stop me from hunting.
I as well. I think I've voiced my opinion on it. There's no question about how I feel. And I've owned several brands of cameras, Al. And there's one brand and it's a very popular brand. It's skipped my mind. I'm trying to find it. But I've owned that brand. It was the first one that I've ever had, and I'm still trying to find this one particular brand. Moultrie, thank you. Moultrie was my first brand of cameras, and they were older cameras. I obtained them in, I think, 2018, and they were probably 5 years old at that point in time. Still new in the package, but they were old. They didn't perform well at all, and I stopped really checking them frequently just because the image quality was so bad. And I ended up putting one up in my backyard because I had does and fawns moving through my backyard every day. And so I put a camera up just to test it, and it would take 100 pictures in one day of the different light change and different things moving at different areas within its view. But I could literally sit in my back room and watch them walk in front of my camera, and those animals would not trigger that camera. I've had wild game innovation cameras, and for a while, for the price point, they were one of my favorites. And then as computers and phones continued to move forward and they updated their software and software capabilities, the wild game innovations did not update their software to interface. And so I could not go check my cameras with my phone anymore, or even my iPad. Things just stopped working. I would have to pull cards and come back and actually put them into a computer. So that became, my card readers weren't working anymore. And then I purchased a Tacticam, and I've been pretty happy with the Tacticam, and I really enjoyed having that. And at first I had a regular Tacticam, and then I bought their cellular version, and I've enjoyed that. And again, I said, I was addicted to it. I was checking that thing all times during the day, wanting to see what was going on with my camera. And then the newness and excitement kind of fell away from that. And now I'm using these $24.99 off-brand cameras from Midway. They work well. I have to go out and check them. They're going to fill a gap that I want and need for this year. And I don't know how long I'll use them. I don't know if it will actually transition past this year. So of all those cameras that I've owned and used, Chubbs, yeah, I'm going to use them this year. And again, I don't know if I'll use them again next year, potentially. But I'm spending my time and my hunt funds in other areas because, again, as I've mentioned multiple times throughout this episode, I don't believe cameras make that big of an impact on my success as a big game hunter.
And seeing the last 2 years of your harvest rates in areas where I've hunted, and hey, I put a camera up in Nebraska. I didn't kill a deer this year. You went in, looked at maps and said, I'm going to kill a deer right here. And you did it. Does it stop you? No. Is it a tool? Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. I've got a mix of wild game innovations, Simmons cameras, and I have a couple of spy points. Now you're going to get what you pay for to a degree. I've got a couple of other off-brand cameras. I don't remember the name of them. I dropped them one time, broke them. I mean, literally not even a soft drop, like a foot off the grass, and it broke, doesn't work anymore. I spent $35 on these Simmons cameras, And are they going to win me any awards? No. But you know what? I don't look at it as I want to have the most high def picture possible. Is it cooler to see animals like that? Yeah, especially if they're off in a distance and they've got antlers. But are they a tool? Yeah. And I mean, on my wild game innovations I've had for 15 years and they still work.
You and I had a great conversation with Rusty recently, fantastic turkey hunter. And we were talking about shotgun loads. And he referenced the shotgun shell as the one thing that connects you to that turkey. That is the one thing of all the things you can purchase in your turkey gear lineup. That is the one thing that truly connects you with the success of your hunt. Because regardless of how much money you spend on everything else, if you fall short on that turkey load and you don't successfully harvest that bird, nothing else matters, right? Big game hunting and cameras for me, that is not the one piece of kit that I think connects me to the success of harvesting a big game animal. It contributes to my success when I choose to use them and use them effectively, but it's not that one piece of gear that does. I could easily live and hunt without them.
I tell you what, you didn't need a trail camera to take down that refrigerator, so you're probably not going to be out there in the woods.
And I tell you what, maybe I need to work on some other areas because that refrigerator is still running.
As we wrap this up, Sprocket and I would love to invite anyone that agrees or disagrees, and I highly encourage those of you that would disagree with our train of thought. If you would like to be a guest on the podcast, please reach out to us. We would love to hear someone else's opinion or fact-based theory, whatever. I mean, I'm a sucker for knowledge. I love information. And maybe you think that we're looking in a corner somewhere and we're not seeing the big picture. I think we both would love to have you guys on.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
No.
So yes, I think that we would love to have you guys on. Reach out. If you've got a difference of opinion, which I am sure that there are numerous listeners that have a difference of opinion, let us know.
Well, Chubbs, let's close this one out in one fell swoop. Where can you find Sprocket and Chubs? Well, we have an Instagram page. It is Sprocket and Chubs. We have a YouTube channel. All of our episodes are loaded onto YouTube. We're not doing the video yet. You're just going to look at our beautiful logo or whatever images our talented Chubbs produces for that particular release. But we do have YouTube. It is Sprocket and Chubs. Our podcast is on all major and not so major podcast platforms. Please do us a favor. If you have the ability to leave a star rating, write a review, subscribe, label it as a favorite. If you can go in and make comments on certain episodes, will you please give us a little bit of love and follow us, subscribe, comment, and give us some of those reviews. And then, of course, we have our email if you choose to email sprocketandchubs@gmail.com. Am I missing anything, Chubbs?
No, I think you've covered everything.
All right. It would be really, really good to get some feedback, some comments, and some interaction with some listeners. We'd love it.
Sprocket, it's been a great conversation. I'm looking forward to seeing some pictures after you get these trail cameras set up. But again, is it going to make or break your hunt? I don't believe it will, but I'm looking forward to it.
Not at all. All right, Chubbs.
Good luck scouting this weekend. We'll see you next week.
Sounds good. Be limitless.